Thought it might be interesting to show people how I wind my own Theremin coils for the D-Lev digital Theremin. I'm going to wind a 1 millihenry coil, and this will be an air core, a single layer, very high Q, very nice, very low drift. I'm going to be winding it on a 1.5 inch piece of plumbing that you use generally underneath your kitchen sink. This one's made out of ABS. It's very rigid, very nice. It's 99 millimeters long, and these holes, I drilled these tiny little holes about 12 millimeters in from the ends. I'm going to be winding this 30 AWG Remington wire. It's kind of important to get the lower temperature stuff because you don't want you want to be able to tin it with a soldering iron without having to strip the coating off. And this is single coat, so that's what you want there too. You don't want a really heavy coat on it. You don't want double coat. Or I don't anyway. So we're putting it on our little coil holder down here. It's just a block of wood with a screw and stuff. It's nothing elaborate at all. And we bring the wire down here. We bring it under this copper pipe here. So this is my winder. It's just 2 angle irons here. This one's, I drilled out the hole a little bigger, I think. This one I cut the top of the hole out so I can pull the rod out to install the coil form. And here I've got a partial cone thing that I 3D printed, and I have a 2-piece version of it over here that I use on the other end. So, and that keeps me from having to like undo these nuts constantly and stuff. So we're going to put the wire in the coil form here and tape it down with a little bit of tape. Right. And put it on the winder. So this 2-piece has like these little diamonds that kind of hold it all together. So put that on. Put the coil up against it. And tighten it down. Okay, so let's wind. So for this first couple of turns, I like to hold it really tight and try to get it to go on kind of straight that way. So there's one. I'm not going to count the windings though, but these first few windings are kind of critical, so you kind of have to go slow with them. Okay. Alright, well that looks really good. So you can see I'm holding it down with my index finger here. Kind of keep it all tight. I'm getting a little spacing there. But otherwise it looks pretty good. Alright, so just keeping the index finger on it. I'm not counting, I'm just going from one hole to the next. Not a big deal. Now, a lot of times it's more finicky than this at the beginning. And so that's kind of why you can't motorize something like this. You can't, it would just, I don't know, it'd be crazy. Now this is 30 AWG, it's really easy. This is like nothing. If it's finer wire, you might want to stop every once in a while and tighten it down with your fingers. But this stuff goes on pretty tight, just with my index finger. So it's nice not having to count the turns or anything. The volume coils are 10 millimeters longer, and I use 32 AWG on those, and they're kind of harder. It's a lot more turns, and just with slightly finer wire, it's a lot more trouble. You know, God help you if you're like winding 40 AWG or something. That's a crazy time. So your fingernail or your finger can get kind of worn out doing this too, but it can hang in there for maybe 24 coils before you lose your fingerprint, and then you can go on a crime spree. Nobody'd know who you were. Yeah, you can feel the little hole kind of coming around with your fingers, so if you fell asleep or something, that'll wake you up. Okay, and I like to kind of half cover the hole. And you got another piece of tape. You don't want to let go here because it'll all spill off and unwind. Cut it off. Alright, and what I like to do is to remove the tape and cover up the hole, because I don't want the coil dope going in the hole. But it doesn't matter if some of it doesn't get. So anyway, for coil dope I use this out the door nail polish. Fast dry and clear. Works really good. Very stinky. And just put some on like this. We don't need to cover the whole coil, just the end here, just to keep it from spooling off. And you don't want to get over onto the coil form itself too much, because that forms like a really paper thin kind of weird layer that it's kind of hard to deal with later. Alright, so you don't need a whole lot, just enough to keep it on there. And undo it. And there you have it. 1 millihenry. We have to put some leads on it, and we need to cover it in heat shrink tubing to protect the wiring and to make it all tight. Okay, let's go ahead and put some leads on this coil. I like to use wire wrap wire, which is really fine stuff. It's about as fine as the winding on the coil, actually, which I guess is bad for DCR, but whatever. Alright, so we need 150 millimeters, which I've got drawn here kind of roughly on the table, and 180 millimeters, right around there. Alright, this is a wire wrap tool. It came with a little wire wrap stripper, wire stripper, which is real handy for this kind of stuff. That's all I ever use it for. So I'm going to strip only one end. There. So now we can tin them. You got to tin like everything. You know, even if it comes pre-tinned, you got to tin it again. So this is like a little rosin, little rosin flux in a cap. And here's my soldering iron set to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. And there. Now those are tinned. Now we need to tin the coil. You can take the tape off. The out the door stuff is dried. And so push this through. Well, first we tin this. We trim it so it's a little back from the hole here. Bend them out a little. Okay. And you can remove the insulation here just by heating it up enough. So you just kind of get enough solder on it, and it should come, the insulation should melt off. Doesn't happen immediately, you have to kind of work it a little bit. Alright. Through the hole. Here's where it's a little tricky. You want to line it up perfectly. I know you probably can't see that very well, but you want to line it up really good and steady. And it'll fight you constantly. That's a pretty good joint. So you pull that through. And you can use the same tape to tape the other side like this. Keep it taut. Let's do the other lead. That's pretty good. Alright, pull it through. Tighten it all down. Put the tape on there. More nail polish. Now here's where you want to get nail polish in the hole. You can kind of gunk this on. It doesn't really look all that bad. I gunked that on a little too heavy. Okay. Alright, so there you have it. Now we wait for the nail polish to dry. Okay, let's put the heat shrink tubing on it. The nail polish is now dry, and we can remove the tape. What I like to do is put my finger right over the little hole there while I tuck the wire on the to the inside. That's to give it a little bit of strain relief. You don't want the nail polish coming undone at this point. But, you know, you don't want to tempt fate. Right. So I use this 65 millimeter flat. That's what it measures from side to side. And I cut it 15 millimeters longer than the coil form itself. That's because it will shrink down in this dimension somewhat, the length dimension. It'll do most of its shrinking in the width or in the diameter, but it will actually shrink some in the length too. So you have to kind of overdo it on the length a little bit. And you want a little extra just so you can trim it off at the end and then make it look pretty. So here we go. Now, when you come up to the end of the coil here, you got to be careful not to catch the coil, and the nail polish and the wire and stuff, and separate it. All right, so we center it all up. Looks good. All right, and I use like a paint stripping heat gun, and I get up to temperature. And some people say you can use a hairdryer here. I've never tried that. Maybe it would work, I don't know, but never tried it. I like to start kind of in the middle. You got to keep it moving. You don't want to overheat the coil form because you can deform it with heat. It's still got some ripples in it. And it'll be kind of rippling until the very end, believe it or not. And then you can do the end like this and tighten it up. One more pass. Okay. You can see that it's nice and smooth, kind of even looking. We got some overhang here. So we take a box cutter and we can trim away the overhang pretty easily. Taking a little bit of the form with it, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, well there you go. Now we'll take the leads out and we'll do the electrical test. Alright, time for the electrical testing. Alright, we need to strip the ends of the wires here so we can connect up to it. Alright, and this is a resonance-based LC meter, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of ideal for use with when you're building a theremin, because it can measure sub-picofarads really well, and small and large inductances. So it's a great little meter. We turn it on, we hit the coil up. Right, we connect the leads together here, and we zero it out. And what do we have? 1.033 millihenries. That's really good. Right it on the inside for posterity. Now, you know, you could be off, you know, since this, the frequency is related to the square root of the inductance. You know, if you're off like 10%, the frequency is only going to be off by like 3%. So, you know, it's not a real close tolerance kind of thing. All right, let's measure the DCR with our fluke here. Put it in ohms. Short it out. Offset. Okay. And what do we have? We have 10.33 ohms DCR. All right, so there you have it. 1 millihenry pitch coil. Just waiting to make sweet, sweet theremin music. Thanks for watching.